everyone, and welcome to CFC Fan TV. This is our last video for this week, and I know Charlie did a video on it last week on whether or not we can get top 4, but I think this needs to be a weekly video, if I'm being honest, because it's constantly changing. I mean, you just can't predict the Premier League, can you? I mean, to be fair, I would have said United would have won against Arsenal last week, and Arsenal pulled a 2-0 without the bag.
I thought it'd be a draw, to be fair.
Or a draw. You know, you just don't know what's going to happen. And I was actually filming up at the Emirates after I had a job up there, so I did Chelsea Wolves in the day, and then I went and did a job at the Emirates, and I saw the lovely Claude and Lee and Troops and everyone. And yeah, so it was. I think it just changes every week, and I think there's going to be so much happening towards the end of the season that it's just going to be. It's almost going to be something that we need to keep on top of, actually, I would say. That's the best way of doing it. I'm going to kick off. I don't know what your thoughts are yet, because we haven't actually discussed this before the video. I don't think we're going to make the top 4. I think our best way into the Champions League this season is going to be to win the Europa League. What do you think?
It just depends on how we do in our last round of fixtures. I mean, the most crucial game we have got is United away. And it's under Mourinho, it might have been an easier game, but under Solskjaer, it's going to be a very, very tough game.
So tough.
And I think that will define
and
how
one
we
thing
can do.
United have got at the moment that we haven't is they've sort of got a massive unity about them, and they've got such a huge connection with their manager, which we don't know that they're falling out with Sarri. We don't have a clue. But all I can say is I think the connection with the players and Ollie is much stronger than Chelsea players with Sarri.
Well, I mean, they showed it in the FA Cup against us. They were just absolutely ruthless.
Yeah.
Obviously, dumped us out the cup, which was very heartbreaking because obviously the FA Cup is the best domestic cup in England.
Yeah.
But I think that could be stuck in our minds. Do we really want to get turned over like we did in the FA Cup at home? Are we going to bring it to them? Personally, I want to see the same Chelsea that turned up against Tottenham turn up against United, because for some reason that Chelsea just looks unbeatable.
But I do think with Tottenham it's slightly different, because there's a chance of them pulling something very Spursy, which they did. United don't have that quality in them, do you know what I mean? So
well, you say that, but I mean they did let slip once a massive Premier League to let City win a title. Obviously, given that epic Aguero goal.
That's mental, though.
Yeah, but that's the only time I've ever seen United pull Spurs.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that I think that this is going to be a tough game. I think all of our fixtures are going to be tough from now on. Also, don't forget, the bottom half of the table are also fighting for their to stay in the Premier League, for survival, to stay in the league and to not be relegated. So I think when you've got teams fighting relegation, they then turn up. Look at Southampton against Tottenham. I don't think Southampton are going to go down. I've never thought that from the start of the season, no matter how bad they've been. I think there's been other teams that are far more inconsistent. And if we do have a Cardiff fixture, in which case I do think we could win that. But I mean, listen, I've been to Swansea away towards the end of the season and said us played, horrendously there. So you just don't know with this side, I suppose. You don't know with any of the sides. I'm just saying that I think other teams sort of got this buzz about them that we don't have.
When it comes to like the March, April, May fixtures, when every game is crucial for the lower clubs, they start to play with nothing to lose, because they don't care if they lose 5-0, they don't care if they lose 4-0. They're just going to go straight for it, because it is literally do or die, with the thought being
I also, as well, to be fair, when I look at the bottom half of the table, some of them have very strong attacks, they've just got absolutely terrible defences, which is why they lose games every season. But if they have nothing to lose, they're going to play to their strengths, and we should be worried about that, I think.
I mean, Cardiff did it at the Bridge, but I mean, given that we did smash them at the Bridge, but for the first 10-15 minutes leading up to their goal, I mean, even Warnock come out and said there's no point trying to sit back against Chelsea, you just got to go for it. And they went for it, went ahead, but it was just they were just very unlucky that their defence couldn't handle Hazard, actually. But Cardiff will be at their grounds, they'll feel a bit more, safe and comfortable. But even then, when you look, they beat West Ham. West Ham at the time were looking decent. They started to pull themselves together and get results. And I mean, and Cardiff, I mean, you can't really write any apart from Huddersfield and Fulham. They're all but doomed. You can't really write off any other team in the bottom half.
Huddersfield are going down. There's no doubt about it.
Huddersfield are down,
It's not. That's not. Forget about top four. Huddersfield are on their way off. I think Fulham are on their way off too. I mean, and it's a shame for Fulham because I don't hate them as a club. I live in Fulham. They are our rivals, but Chelsea fans don't hate Fulham. Fulham hate Chelsea, I think.
I mean,
it's a shame because of all the money they've spent, and to just go straight back down. I think they thought this would be their chance to sort of stay up.
Yeah.
But listen, back to Chelsea. The whole point of talking about the bottom half of the table is in the fact that. We're going to have some fixtures against, like we said, Cardiff, and it is going to get a bit tough because you just don't know what's going to happen in these games. I want us to be prepared. Do you know what I mean? I don't want us to drop off. And Hazard's come out. If you've not seen this article on Sky, I think it's on a couple of other outlets as well, and he's basically said that the team are united, and they do want to get top four, and that is their goal. It's brilliant that Hazard's come out and said that. It's very important. But I don't know if we're seeing that completely on the pitch. And I'm not saying from Hazard because Hazard in his own right is just individually brilliant. You just can't deny it. And on his day, when he wants to turn up, he is by far our best player on the pitch and one of the best players in the world. But I think for the whole team, you can't say what we saw against Wolves is a good team performance. I think the reason I think the Europa League is that we've got more of a chance in winning that is because he does play the likes of Adoy and does mix the team up a little bit. So for me, I think what Hazard's saying. Great, and I have no doubt that they do want to get Champions League football, but we don't know if Hazard's staying or going, do we? So, is that true? Do you think he's telling the truth there?
Hazard is very passionate. I mean, you look at the times when he was scoring against Tottenham. You look at the times when he's been really, really up for it. He does love Chelsea. I mean, we kicked him off as a massive player. I mean, he was a world-class talent back at Lille. I mean, everyone was looking for him, but he developed from just like a little world-class talent to a world-class player at Chelsea. Obviously, we have made him, one of the best players in the world with the way we've been playing him. But we're getting to the stage now where we're becoming too reliant on him as well. So, don't get me wrong, Hazard, I would love him to stay. Hazard going would destroy me completely because he is by far the best player we're going to have for at least 10 years. I don't think I can see us sign a player that. I mean, we will sign good players. Don't get me wrong, but I can't see anyone impacting as much as Hazard.
And it's a shame because I actually think Hazard would have stayed a lot longer if he'd had the right players around him to, And don't get me wrong, I'm sure he loves his teammates, and we've had some great players in the past. But he wants to win the Champions League. Let's face it, and he's not gonna stay at a club where we're not managing to get top four every season. And that's sort of another reason why the whole Sarri thing comes into play because for once I don't know how we're going to correct it because we've been through so many managers already. But when we lose Hazard, we're going to have a serious think about
restructure.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So
obviously that brings me to the point I mentioned in the Sarri video. I mean, like I said, I don't think Sarri can get the entire blame. I think it's the board because you got to think the amount of players that we had been linked with that we probably could have signed.
Yeah.
We could probably had a Champions League winning team by now, but obviously they don't want to invest. And I think I don't want to get political, but obviously with the ongoing stuff with Russia, I mean that's not helped us. With the spy being poisoned and Abramovich not being allowed in the UK for now, visa revoked. I think that is a major factor at the moment. But I just don't see why, as a rich club, and I don't like bragging about this. I mean, but when you are a rich club and you can spend lots of money, I think you should. I just think that leads up to quite dangerous things. That we're not spending big. It asks questions. Is he prepared to sell the club? Is the reason he's not spending money is because he wants to start turning profits? Basically doing what Arsenal do. Not spend much because they're too busy trying to make themselves money. And that's something you just got to take into fact as well. Why the board?
I think Chelsea Football Club we've always we've been quite ruthless, yes, but you can't deny the fact that whether you think that the in and outgoings of managers has been successful or not or fair, they've done it because they want to win trophies, regardless. So whether we think that their way of doing that, their method of doing that is correct, the club want to win trophies, and I'd much rather us be like that than be like Arsenal, we waited 20 years to change or whatever, So I think we will eventually get it right, but I think it's almost going to take sort of Hazard leaving to start the restructure, because at the moment we are sort of, I suppose, comfortable a little bit, which is a bit of a shame. So don't want Hazard to leave, by the way. Let's just get that completely correct. But I think to focus on top four this season, It's going to be a tough one, and I'm still not sure at this point that it's going to happen. I don't think it will do. What do you think? As a conclusion.
I think as much as I'd love to sit here and be a yes man, I've really got to disagree with that point with that.
Especially after Arsenal's win against United. I mean, you just don't know, do you?
Yeah, but like I said, I think we're too reliant on Hazard. I mean, we are going through a restructure at the moment, but at the moment we are, too reliant on Hazard. That's being found out. I mean, teams come in, just take out Hazard, and then we've got to try and look at something else. Then they'll isolate Jorginho. That's probably the way to find out Chelsea. So, obviously, the restructure needs to go through at the moment, which is probably the only reason I've got to disagree with that point. But I think, in regards to top four, it is very wide open. I mean, we're 4 points behind Spurs with a game in hand, 3 points behind Arsenal with a game in hand. Obviously, they've played 30, we played 29. I mean, Brighton at home is the game in hand, obviously, which I think we can win because Brighton, I think they haven't got anything to play for anymore. They're not relegated. They're not relegated threatened. They can't really get top four, so that should be a comfortable win. But it's.
But for me, I think if we lose against Everton this week, it's just going to put our momentum, our confidence down even more, and the pressure's going to be on Sarri, and the pressure's going to be on the players, and it's all going to go downhill. So I think Sunday's game is incredibly important. We have to win that game. Yeah. So comment below, everyone. Let me know your thoughts. Can we get top four? We're going to do this video weekly. We're going to keep up to date with all the fixtures in the Premier League because I think it's very important because it affects us. At the end of the day, it affects our club's mission to get into top four and to get Champions League football. Please subscribe to this video, as we always say, and Ben will be back in a couple of weeks' time. If you like him, let us know. We'll bring him on more often. And we'll see you later on this week. Hopefully we're talking about 2 wins.